A man takes his beautiful date to her massive home hoping to get lucky. He gets invited inside, but a series of strange happenings hamper what he thought was going to be a smooth evening. On a night lit by a full moon, a car drives through the gate of a massive estate, stopping at the end of the paved path. The car's occupants, a man and a woman, chat about finally arriving at the woman's apparently distant residence. The man is startled by an indistinct noise outside, which the woman firmly dismisses as nothing of concern. Trying to have the conversation breezy, the man rambles about his preference for living in the city and soon offers to walk his date to her door. The woman teasingly invites him inside as the beguiled man sheepishly agrees. They get out of the car and continue to gush about their unexpectedly straightforward connection earlier in the evening. Walking on, the man marvels at his date's home, an imposing-looking castle that's apparently belonged to the woman's family for years. The woman then teases his mild skepticism of her unexpected stature, but the guy suggests continuing their talk inside due to the chilly night air. The woman agrees and remarks that she's always loved the cold before leading him to the house. Inside, the lights unexpectedly flicker out, so the woman resorts to lighting the fireplace in the nearby living room instead. The man follows her there but stops at the sight of a woman's silhouette in a mirror. He calls out to her, looks away for a moment, and finds only his reflection upon looking back. The man's date teases him about seeing things, noting how it can happen in such an old house full of memories. While lighting the candles, the woman continues to dismantle the man's jesting attitude, leaving him scrambling for words of flattery. They then sit on the couch until the woman offers to get drinks. Before she can leave the room, the man clarifies if the house is just a summer residence, trying to gauge her social status. The woman explains that her family owns several estates across the country and that she's staying in the current one. She adds rather sheepishly that her family is rich, and so is she, punctuated by a disarming smile. The woman leaves the room as the man soaks in the weight of her wealthy revelations. He then calls a friend who's apparently still at the bar where they came from and brags about getting invited to the beautiful woman's house. In the middle of celebrating the likelihood of getting lucky, a low, rumbling noise distracts him momentarily. He eventually ends the call after much gloating, just as the woman silently appears by the doorway with their drinks. They sit on the couch, sip their drinks, and kiss soon after. When asked if he was speaking to someone earlier, the man initially lies but then admits to talking to his friend on the phone. The woman also asks if he's married, to which he answers evasively, eventually revealing that he is separated. He also assures her that their hookup doesn't count as cheating. The two talk about how they ended up where they are. The man boasts that the woman asked him to take her home, but she contends that he approached her first. Soon enough, they start kissing on the couch and the woman bites the guy's lip, drawing blood. She presses her lips on the cut to his delighted surprise. In between tantalizing brushes of their lips, she urges him to do whatever he wants with her. This mysteriously teasing demeanor beguiles the man, which is exactly what the woman wants. Another noise interrupts their moment, prompting the man to get up from the couch and wonder if anybody else is there. The woman answers vaguely, making the guy realize they don't even know each other's names. The lady reveals her name is Mina, and the man introduces himself as Hap, short for the old-fashioned name Hapgood. Mina remarks that she knew a couple of Hapgoods in her day. Then, brushing the weird factoid off, Hap wants to know if Mina is married, and the woman replies that she isn't. Hap collapses on a nearby armchair in relief, and Mina approaches him, her hands on his belt buckle. As Mina pulls Hap's pants down, another woman appears in the room, making Hap jump out of the seat, clutching his pants. Mina greets the woman named Lucy, confusing Hap, who thought she lived alone and now wants to leave out of embarrassment. Introducing Lucy as her sister, Mina implores Hap to stay for another drink, as Lucy offers to join them as well. Hap agrees somewhat reluctantly, and Mina leaves to fetch the refreshments. After discovering how Mina and Hap met, Lucy seems to let slip that it was her turn to go out that night. Hap's puzzled by this comment, but Lucy waves it off as just a quirk of taking turns watching the house. They somehow get to talking about their fathers, and while Hap has a complicated relationship with his, Lucy claims to love theirs very much. Just then, the lights flicker back on and Lucy leaves to check on Mina. Hap relocates to the couch to finish his drink and, out of curiosity, downs the rest of the liquid in Mina's glass. Soon enough, Hap succumbs to his drowsiness. He wakes up a while later, hands and feet tied to a chair in a dark cave. Screaming for Mina, Hap struggles against his bonds and tips his chair backward onto the ground. He spots another woman in the distance and calls to her, thinking she's Mina, but she disappears. After great effort, Hap manages to free his hands and his feet from the chair and walks off to explore the huge cave. Using a penlight to navigate the dimly lit space, he comes across a man's shoe beside a car rack. The pen light soon runs out of power, but Hap continues to walk, eventually finding a pile of men's shoes. He walks past the creepy sight and sees a gaping hole leading upwards to a bright light. Hap scrambles up a hill of rocks leading to the hole but tumbles backward, yelling in pain. Sustaining an open fracture in his knee, he wails for help with mounting panic. As Hap's terrified screams echo through the cave, he wakes up back on the couch, realizing it was just a nightmare. He's startled at Lucy sitting on the couch with him, but the woman seems concerned at his tired-looking state. Hap waves it off, asking where Mina is, and Lucy tells him her sister will be done in a few minutes. Their conversation turns to Mina's family and their ownership of multiple large homes, which Lucy finds typical for her sister to disclose. She then offers Hap a tour of the house, which he accepts in part to shake off his drowsiness. The two walk down long halls and climb a couple of floors until Hap, out of breath, pauses by another set of stairs Lucy led him to. She assures him it's the last couple of steps up, but Hap stalls to regain composure. He remarks just how huge the house is, admiring the two sisters living by themselves in such a grandiose space. Hap then takes the opportunity to ask Lucy what Mina thinks of him. Lucy says that from what she sees, her sister really likes him, alluding to the pants-down moment from earlier. An embarrassed Hap takes Lucy's word for it and pushes on with the tour of the final floor. They ascend to the topmost floor of the castle, which opens up to a spacious balcony, to Hap's amazement. He and Lucy take in the view of the estate under the night sky as he asks the woman what they do for fun at home. Lucy rattles off a list of mundane activities, including telling each other ghost stories. Hap laughingly compares it to sleepovers, quite surprised at how normal the sisters seem relative to their wealth. When Lucy inquires if he knows any ghost stories, Hap admits to his lack of knowledge on the subject but asks her if she can tell him one. Lucy hesitates, not wanting to interrupt this date with Mina, which Hap tries to downplay as a simple hookup. He maintains that Lucy would not be ruining any moment he had with Mina, slowly shifting his attraction to the woman before him. While teasing Hap about being drunk, Lucy smoothly flatters the way he talks to her, further emboldening him. She then points out the cut on his lip, which he dismisses by lying about how he got it. The two continue to flirt with each other, with Hap disregarding Mina's absence and begging Lucy to tell him her ghost story. Lucy gives in and starts to tell her tale when Mina interrupts them, carrying a tray of drinks. They each take a goblet as Hap tries to bluff his way out of the story thing with Lucy, but Mina urges her sister to carry on with it. Mina then suggests they continue in the living room, and Lucy reveals that the one with the fireplace was just one of the sitting rooms. Further beguiled by the sisters, Hap eats up their suggestive hints at what can happen in the living room. The two women lead the way back inside as Hap follows, obviously acting purely on impulse. As they enter the massive living room, Hap is yet again floored by the sheer size of the house. Despite the lights going out, Mina prompts Hap to go first, which he misunderstands by trying to pull down his pants. Mina laughs and clarifies she's talking about telling ghost stories, but Hap claims to have poor storytelling skills, adding he was only there for the alcohol. Mina corners him, saying he wasn't being honest with his true motive for taking her home. Lucy interrupts her sister and implores Hap to make up a story for them, insisting that he start the tale with Once Upon a Time. Hap gives in and proceeds to narrate how he met Mina, disguised as the story of a guy called Steve. As the story goes on, Hap incorporates broad and flattering details of his experience with his sister so far. He concludes the story with a wishful scenario of Steve sleeping with the sisters, but Lucy and Mina point out it's not a ghost story. Frustrated, Hap waves off the story as a joke and humors the sisters with tacked-on ghost elements but retains the lewd insinuations. He prompts them to tell their story, and Mina volunteers Lucy for the task, with a promise of games later. Lucy proceeds to tell the story of a girl who lived in a small house in the woods with her family. However, her parents died in unfortunate circumstances, leaving her at the mercy of a group of hunters from a nearby village. Instead of taking the girl to safety, these hunters took turns forcing themselves on her. Hap reacts with horror laced with glibness at Lucy's story, but she continues on. According to Lucy, the girl was on the brink of death but was found by a man and his two daughters, who took her in as their own. The girl was nursed back to health, growing stronger and more beautiful as time passed by. Then, one day, the girl and her new family tracked down the hunters who hurt her. The girl and her family lured the men into dark caves, tying them up and killing them before emptying their bodies of blood. This triggers something within Hap, who tries to clarify why there's such a familiar detail within the story. Mina shushes him, and Lucy continues the story, narrating how the girl and her sisters rampaged through villages across the country. Eventually, the sisters made their way to America, luring unwitting men into their many homes to toy with them before tearing them apart. Lucy says the three undead sisters continue their activities to that day, never to end. At this point, a horrified Hap catches on to what appears to be Lucy and Mina's history, but feels a sense of relief that they have no third sister. But suddenly, another woman shows up behind Hap, causing him to jump out of his seat. Lucy introduces the woman as their sister, Nora, who seems amused at Hap's clueless nature. When Mina mentions that she knew Hap was bragging to a friend earlier, he fumbles with excuses and requests to talk with her alone. Mina counters that he can say anything he needs to in front of her sisters, as Nora remarks it's his last chance to do so. Hap loses his cool at this ominous comment, but Mina suggests they play a game. Hap angrily declines and announces he's going home, to which the sisters coolly express their doubt. This unnerves Hap even more, lashing out at the sisters for the humiliation and continuing to be defensive at Mina. After spewing a few more curses, Hap tries to leave but finds the living room door is locked. He faces the smug sisters again, this time threatening to hurt them unless they open the door, which then unlocks by itself. A terrified Hap asks what's beyond the door, seeing only the sisters' evil smirks, and he turns to leave. Unfortunately, Mina suddenly appears before him and bites down on his neck, ripping the skin clean off. With blood gushing from his neck, Hap stumbles back and collapses on the floor, pleading for his life. The sisters, revealed to be vampires, taunt Hap and soon feast on his shuddering body, with Mina giving him one last bloody kiss before eating his face off.
Subscribe to watch more videos like this. Turn on notifications. And leave a like, it really helps the channel out. Thank you for watching.